I just get really tired of everybody talking about white on black on black crime, like white people don't do fucked up shit to each other. So that's why I did that. Anyways, back to the subject at hand. For any of those that have stumbled in, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to talk about this Courtney Clenny situation here. Uh, New York Post article. Now, for those of you that may not know what is going on here, this Courtney Clenny is a OnlyFans model, and she dated a young brother named Christian Obumseli, black dude, and she stabbed this young man to death. Now, the reason why I brought this up is because it has so many angles that I find to be interesting, right? So this young brother here is an immigrant, or his parents are immigrants. I'm not sure if he's born here in this country or not, but his parents are immigrants. So he feels a certain type of way about black people in this country, foundational black Americans. I believe some of his social media and some of the things that he's done has shown that. Um, so I feel like it seems as though foundational black American men have had a particular opinion about this young brother who is no longer with us. African American women are not particularly excited about the brother because he's dating a snow bunny. Shout out to Umar Johnson. So they haven't really come to his rescue either. White people seem to be able to separate themselves from crime as a whole whenever someone that looks like them commits a crime, so they don't say anything. Um, and the immigrant community has been trying to raise the alarm bells, looking to foundational Black Americans to help them get justice for their son. And they're part of the community that has often not been so nice to foundational Black Americans or had the highest opinion of foundational Black Americans, which creates a pretty damn interesting dynamic, if you ask me. So, this young woman who was clearly, I mean, she was found in a pool of blood. She didn't have any defensive wounds. It was no question as to what kind of happened. And they didn't arrest her right away. In fact, let's find this. She was in Hawaii. She almost tried to run. She got as far from the United States as she could without being outside of the United States. And it took them 4 months to finally arrest her. I don't know if anybody that's watching, and salute to everybody. What's up? Yeah, he's Nigerian. She was very hostile. What's up, Cody? So I don't know, because this is the first time I've gotten an opportunity to see these images here. Let me blow this up for everybody to see. Because, the only images I saw that were on the news were her sitting it was a video from across the way, and she was sitting in kind of the window. Look at this carnage. We'll blow this up. Okay, they didn't like that. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow. So, and there's a reason why I want to show you guys this first. There's a reason why I want to show you guys this first. Some of you may or may not have seen there was some elevator video of them getting into an altercation, and she was clearly obviously attacking him. But like I said, it's an interesting dynamic because, again, you know, we talk about the schism between the communities of ADOS or foundational Black Americans and rated here, and always a there's always a schism there. We actually spoke on it on Attorney Dennis Sperling's uh, broadcast earlier this today. That very few people really want to talk about, but I find it interesting because when we watch this next thing here, and I'm gonna let everybody and let me know if just hit me if you can hear me okay, just hit a one in the chat for me, please. But I just find it that the narrative that's being pumped out, it's interesting because they're trying their best to make it bloody. I mean, look at this, huh? So look, let's just get into it because this is the part that I wanted to really get into this because this was fascinating to me the way they try to spin this. Now this is on Court TV. Come on down, Court TV. Let's go.
Ahead of her trial. Clenny is charged with second-degree murder for the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Christian Obumseli. A Miami-Dade County Superior Court judge heard 2 days of arguments in an Arthur hearing for Clenny. The judge plans to announce her decision on December 8th. Clenny's trial date is tentatively set for December 19th. That is likely going to be pushed until next year. The hearing comes as prosecutors release new photos of the moment.
Okay, now this is apparently the murder weapon. Now, this is important. Make note of this thing. Oh, it looks kind of like maybe a fancy steak knife? Let me know if you can hear that in the chat. Can you hear that? All right. So it looks like a little, I mean, it looks like a steak knife. It's not even like a real, it's not even like a kitchen knife, like a chef's knife. It's not like a military style, like the kind they have in the Marines and in the Army, right? Usually the ones they have in the Marines and in the Army, they've got like the kind of the ends on it so you can't cut yourself, so you don't cut your own hand, right? But this is like a kitchen steak knife.
Moments after Obumseli's stabbing back in April, and the photos include a bloody picture of the alleged murder weapon. We're going to talk about all of this and the odds of her getting out. But first, here's Court TV's Vinny Politan with a look at the case against Courtney Clenny.
Now, again, I just want you to pay attention to the narrative, like the way they make this young lady sound, and the idea that, and this is what brought me to the title of the video is, a man was murdered, stabbed to death, bled all over the place. One person in the residence, one murder weapon. She didn't deny doing it. The way she said she did it was in question, but she didn't deny doing it. And just look how hard they try to make it seem like she is the victim.
Media sensation, now a suspected killer. 26-year-old Courtney Taylor Clenny is charged with second-degree murder in the death of her 27-year-old boyfriend, Christian Obumseli.
The chief medical examiner of Miami-Dade County determined that Christian's cause of death was a stab to the chest. Christian was stabbed as the knife punctured the subclavian artery in his right chest.
It all happened following a fight at the couple's luxury apartment in Miami's upscale Edgewater neighborhood.
And it's a nice apartment. I mean, now I question, she was the OnlyFans model. First of all, Put a 1 in the chat if you would date an OnlyFans model. If you would date, I wouldn't. But if you would date an OnlyFans model, put a 1 in the chat. I'm curious. If she was making like $100,000 a month, would you date a woman that was an OnlyFans model? I'll continue.
Prosecutors say fights were common in this volatile relationship.
Evidence gathered during the investigation of Christian's death showed that since November of 2020, he and the defendant, Clenny, had been involved in an extremely tempestuous and combative relationship.
Okay. So they've been in a combative relationship.
The prosecutor's office.
Also, let's check this out. Look, prosecutors claim Clenny and Obumseli's relationship had a history of domestic violence. And again, whenever you hear that, everyone always assumes it's one way. Generally, male to female is the way that it's always assumed.
Office would later release text messages where Obumseli confronts Clenny for slashing him with a knife.
From getting stabbed, forgive me, and let's see, getting stabbed multiple times to forgive and being forgiven, marriage talks, kids talks, vulnerable to you. This is what I deserve, ? Babe, I was in the hospital and you went to Midtown and slept somewhere for the night? ? Why, Courtney, why? Yo. So this isn't the first time she's cut him. This is not the first time she's used a knife on this dude. So this presents my second question, and I'm going to circle back to all of this. If you get stabbed by your woman in your relationship and you go back to her and she eventually kills you, do you deserve any sympathy? Like, is it kind of your fault? Think on that for a second. We'll continue.
More than once. They also released secret audio recordings taken by the victim.
Don't touch me!
What is going on? Like, what are you going to get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on purpose?
Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You just saw her. You know well the right thing to do.
Hey, look, okay, did anybody hear the Amber Heard videos? How much do these sound like the Amber Heard ones? You know what you're doing. Stop doing what you're doing. Don't touch me. Get away from me. They all sound exactly the same.
Mad at me when I'm apologizing to you? No. What is going on?
Taken by the victim.
Don't touch me!
What is going on? Like, what are you going to get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on purpose?
Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You just saw her. You know well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you.
Officials say their apartment building met.
Hold on, I got it.
Just saw her. You know well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you.
Officials say their apartment building management.
She must have had that kryptonite hoo-ha, boy. She must have had that good, extra good, extra good.
Received so
Jesus
many
Christ.
complaints about their loud fights, they came close to being evicted. Building cameras captured this fight in February, just weeks before Obumseli was killed. Clenny's attorney notes that.
All right. Brothers, young men, if you were in a relationship where your significant other is doing anything like this, let me just make this bigger. Brothers, young men, if you are in a relationship, is it this way? And anything like this is happening to you, you need to get out. Anything like this.
That the elevator video does not depict the events leading up to the altar.
Let's say it one more time. I
To
want to
being
memorialize
evicted.
this.
Building cameras captured this fight in February, just weeks before Obumseli was killed.
If you're
Clenny's
in a
attorney notes
relationship,
that the elevator
if you are in a relationship where something like that is happening to you, get out. Y'all hear me? Get out. If you're not on the live and you catch this if you're ever in a relationship and something like this is happening to you,
building cameras captured
this right here, that right there, it's over. It's over. It's done. Your relationship is done. Leave.
fight in February,
This,
just weeks before
all
Obin's
that, unacceptable. Do not allow it. Absolutely not.
Sally was killed.
This pulling
Clenny's attorney
nah, man. Absolutely not. Your relationship is officially over. Don't let it happen.
notes that the elevator video does not depict the events leading up to the altercation.
Now listen to what they just said. Listen to what you just
Weeks
said.
before Obinselli was killed. Clenny's attorney notes that the elevator video does not depict the events leading up to the altercation, and in a statement said Obinselli was the abuser, the worst.
Obinselli was the abuser, the worst kind of abuser. He would manipulate and abuse Courtney in private when he thought nobody was around. Now, out of all of the stuff that we've seen and heard thus far, have you seen that man say anything crazy to her? Her voice was deeper than hers when they were yelling on the audio. He was apologizing. Even in text messages, he was apologizing, and he was the one at the hospital. Let's continue.
Worst kind of abuser. He would manipulate and abuse Courtney in private when he thought nobody was around. Her attorney claims she was acting in self-defense.
Does that look like self-defense?
After Obinselli attacked her. In his statement to Court TV, Frank Prieto states, "It is an absolute injustice to charge a victim of domestic violence."
Courtney was seeking treatment for her PTSD and related issues to this case, and it is an absolute injustice to charge a victim of domestic violence and human trafficking with a crime. Courtney was clearly defending herself. We will vigorously defend Courtney and clear her of this unfounded and baseless charge. This is what you're going to have to deal with right here. This is what you're going to have to deal with right here.
Violence and human trafficking with a crime. He went on to say, "We will vigorously defend Courtney and clear her of this unfounded and baseless charge." This body cam footage was taken the day before the stabbing.
Right now, like, I have not always been a victim, but like right now, I'm a freaking victim in this situation. I'm scared to go down the
So what do you?
And the tears.
I just.
And you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cops, 4 cops standing around trying to make this demon happy. And listen to what she said.
I want to be like, exonerated, I guess, of like anything wrong. And
I want to be exonerated of doing anything wrong, is what she says.
I want him. Okay, let's start here. I want a restraining order against Christian Obinselli.
The OnlyFans star first rose to fame as a bodybuilder.
My name is Courtney Taylor, and I'm about 8 days out from my first show, the NPC West Coast Classic. And today we're going to hit some back and vice, so let's get started.
She soon became a social media celebrity with some 2 million followers on Instagram.
You know she's the one that killed the man, right? You know she's the one that killed somebody,
where
right?
she frequently posted pictures of the man she's now accused of murdering.
This homicide has gained some notoriety since the defendant, Clenny, is an internet social media personality and influencer under the name of Courtney Taylor.
Now Clenny is finding that her fame has a downside.
Yeah, you should go. Because you just killed your boyfriend. Yeah, you did.
Now, on day one of the bail hearing, a City of Miami police detective who responded to the scene of Christian Obinselli's stabbing testified on what he recalled the defendant, Courtney Clenny, told him.
Now look at this guy. Now I want you to listen to this. Even the way that they're speaking in court, they dance around the obvious. they dance around the obvious.
She told me that she was at the apartment. The victim had went down to go to Subways. When he went to Subways, they began to message each other, and through text messages, they got into an argument over sharing each other's location. He then decides to come back to the apartment. Shortly after he comes back to the apartment, another argument ensues. At that point, the defendant says that the victim grabbed her by the neck, slammed her against the wall. She was able to break free. And then she was gonna call her mother, and he didn't want that to happen, so he grabbed her and put her onto the ground. She wasn't able to explain how exactly that happened.
All right, say that again. I'm sorry, sir. I missed that. What did you say?
Explain how exactly that happened and put her onto the ground. She wasn't able to explain how exactly that happened.
Oh, got it. She wasn't able to explain.
After that, she was able to break free once again, at which point she goes to the kitchen. She grabs on the knife, and then she states that the victim ran towards her. And that's when she flung the knife through the knife, and it hit him in the shoulder.
In the shoulder.
Now, the medical examiner
testified
on Thursday and testified to the findings
Hey,
of his
BG,
postmortem
absolutely, right?
and he could confirm if the knife was thrown or not by
Subways.
You know, based on the information that you had in your observations, you know, the position of the wound.
Now, this brother right here, I know he was doing his job. And you have to be very precise with his job. So I'm sure in his own head, he was like trying to make sure, you know, that he was dotting his I's and crossing his T's. But listen.
The angle of the wound, the depth of the wound. Does that support that the victim and the defendant were face to face when this happened?
There he is.
As a hypothetical?
As a hypothetical.
Yes.
And as another hypothetical, based on the same position, observations, the angle, the depth, does it support that the victim was stabbed?
Yes.
Based on the same observations, does it support that at least 8 to 12 pounds of force would have been used in order to create that damage?
In general, yes.
And that damage being breaking through the skin, plunging the knife 3 inches into the victim's chest, and cutting through muscle, eventually the subclavian artery?
Yes.
Now, based on the information you received that the defendant was alleged to have thrown this knife, do your observations support that?
I'm not an expert in knife throwing. If the person who supposedly did this is an expert knife thrower, and the knife is a type of knife that you can throw, I guess that could have happened.
Did you receive any information that the defendant was a knife thrower?
No.
So based on that fact that you did not receive that information, would it support that?
No.
All right. The odds of her throwing that knife pretty low, unless she was an expert knife thrower, according to the expert.
So, again, the idea, the fact that everyone has to jump through, do they jump through these kind of hoops for men? Do they jump through these kind of hoops for black men? I left black off for a reason. I was just saying men in general. But do they jump through these types of hoops for men? I don't know.
Witness, let's bring back in Daryl Stallworth and Ted Golden. Ted, the fact that Obum Selly was recording his girlfriend, the audio recordings.
And I want you guys to really kind of zone in on this part right here. I really want you to listen to this part because, you know, part of the reason why I wanted to do this is that we don't necessarily understand, we don't always understand narrative. And, sometimes we hear things and we don't understand that there's a slant on the information that we're taking in. And
He
this
was
is important.
recording Ted to the expert witness. Let's bring back in Daryl Stallworth and Ted Golden.
This is
Ted,
important.
the fact that Obum Selly was recording his girlfriend, the audio recordings are horrific. And who does that? Is that a person that's an abuser that gets someone in a certain way and records it so that he can use it later? Or is that classic abusee wanting to document what happens to him?
Sounds like he's covering himself. He's trying to make sure that whatever happens is documented, and it shows a clear and concise representation of what was occurring while this incident, while he was losing his life, obviously.
Thank you, brother.
Daryl, these cases are difficult.
Because you saw what you were trying to do there, sir.
Because it is, unfortunately, Obum Selly is dead. He can't come in and articulate the complexities of the relationship. However, you do have those audio recordings. You got the video of them in the elevator.
Do you hear how they're trying to twist this up? Like somehow he must have been the guy it's his fault that he's dead.
Neighbors saying they're constantly fighting. What's your overall take on this case? And do you believe that Courtney Clenny, as her defense attorney has said publicly, is a victim?
The bail hearing is giving us a little preview of what the trial may look like. I'm always fascinated with the pathologists because they're not going to tell you what happened. It's not like the movies where you walk up and say the person was stabbed 3 feet from right here. They give you hypotheticals, and I think that pathologist did a great job. It looks like it's going to be a problem for the defense because of this history, because of these recordings, because of the strength and the power needed to stab someone. I can see that it's going to be a hard, troubling problem. The idea that it's provoked and it's sudden impulse and all those things that knock a first-degree murder down to a second degree, maybe a manslaughter, that's probably going to be her best chance in defending this case.
Ted, it's one of those cases where the utterances made by, in this case, the defendant in those moments after when officers first arrive, is that not so important? Because now she's going to be confronted with the story that she threw the knife, which who
So he's like, she clearly lied. So
knows why she blurted that out. It's a horrible story, a horrible defense for many reasons, because it sounds like it is not backed up by the physical evidence. But from your perspective in law enforcement, those moments are crucial, are they not? The first bite at the apple with a potential defendant.
Yeah, when she made those statements, she put herself in a catch-22, because once you make those statements, you can't take them back. She might be able to say, well, I had some a slight slip of my mind. It didn't happen that way, but realistically, when you make those kind of statements, it's that close to.
Why are we? It's just so interesting how you've got a crime scene. And from what I can tell, I was not able to find any information saying that she had any defensive wounds, any bruises, any kind of injuries whatsoever on her at all, besides all of his blood. I was not able to find any of that. And I know that if she were actually hurt, they would have definitely put that in the report.
To an incident, it becomes more truthful than not. And then, of course, it's kind of like testimony. You can't take it away. Once you say it, it's out there. And it's very difficult to change it or alter it in a way that would be believable.
Yeah. All right, we're going to break in here. Up next, more from Courtney Clenny's Arthur hearing. That's her bond hearing.
Anyways, I just wanted to memorialize that. Because it seems as though, men, particularly African-American men, don't get a fair shake. And not only do we not get a fair shake, or we're not allowed to be victims, but it's actually not only are we not allowed to be victims, but it's almost the system promotes the absolute, you know, it's not even, not only do they hide the truth, but they manipulate the truth in a way that's, and I think, and BG used the word sinister. The act is sinister. It really is. And it is the danger that I believe a lot of men are in these days. But what I'll say is this. What I'll say is this, and I'll go ahead and end this. I just wanted to do this quick video just because it shows clear examples of disrespect and abuse coming from a lady towards a man. And men need to understand when it's time to cut their losses. And it seems as though this man should have cut his losses a long time ago. I believe the dynamic between, you know, his family and the type of guy he was, and the fact that he was in an interracial relationship fits a particular narrative that makes it easy for him to be vilified. And that's something that we all have to be aware of. You know, it's a danger whenever you do date interracially as a Black man, because these are the types of narratives that you have to deal with. And it's a real thing. So, like I said, what I really wanted to do is just memorialize this particular moment and this particular thing. And I just noted how hard they were trying to make him out to be such a monster. And what do you guys think? I'm in here by myself. You guys want to hear what her dad has to say? Let's hear what her dad has to say.
I don't know in what context.
Certainly, I'm not
Because I believe he can be a bit of a liar himself.
discussing your daughter stabbing.
Dad, on the stand, trying to help
Let's listen.
his
Why not?
daughter.
The July 27th of 2021 incident in Vegas. You heard about that yesterday,
Not yesterday, the day before.
the day before.
So this wasn't the first time she stabbed him. Let's continue.
And then the text messages from October 9th through the 11th discussing your daughter stabbing the victim in the leg and then hitting him.
I don't think I know that to be true.
Well, whether you know it to be true, you were in the court and heard it.
I did hear it, yes.
And then also in January 30th through February 1st, the state's allegations that your daughter caused this injury to the victim, slicing him to the
I
face.
did hear it. I did hear that.
She sliced
And
him in the
then,
face.
The February 21st incident in the elevator.
Well, it's obvious that she's under duress, and we don't know what happened before or after.
Well, my question to you is, you heard about it yesterday,
I heard about it the day before yesterday.
the day before yesterday. And then in regards to March, the multiple conversations between your daughter and the defendant, where she calls him a number of different names. You heard about that yesterday.
I did hear about that, but I don't know in what context.
Certainly, I'm not asking you that. So, and then obviously the incident that took place, the date of the incident, when the defendant killed the victim. You heard about that 2 days ago.
Well, when the defendant acted in self-defense, I heard about that, yes.
When the defendant acted in self-defense. Daddy's on the aisle,
released.
or on the,
Would she come back to live with you?
testifying for,
That's an option, yes.
for his daughter.
And do you find her to be a danger to you?
Absolutely not.
Do you find her to be a danger to your daughter, your other daughter,
No.
or your
No.
wife?
No.
And are there any situations that you've had between?
Does he got
Or that
you got some kind of crazy eyes, no? You're right, BG. He worship and female worship is just the gentlemen. You can't worship a female. God didn't put us on this earth to do that. It just biology doesn't work that way. They don't even like you when you do that. They'll say they want you to worship them, but if you worship the ground a woman walks on, she will walk all over you. Let's continue.
You've seen, that you've observed or been privy to between Miss Clenny and your wife and your other daughter?
I think, well, no, because I think there may have been an incident, but I wasn't there. So,
did you eventually learn of what happened?
I think the sheriff's office may have been called, but she wasn't a danger to those two people.
Do you know why nothing was done further?
Judge, I'm going to object.
All right, it's Dad trying to answer some questions from the state after the hearing.
Anyways, I mean, can men be victims? Can they? Are we allowed to be victims? You know, when we get stabbed in the chest, are we allowed to be victims? Do they fight for us like they fight for everyone else? That's just not something that we're allowed to be, right? We're not allowed to be victims. I don't know. Like I said, it's an interesting dynamic. I mean, like I said, the reason why there isn't more noise being made is because I believe that the community doesn't see him as valuable because, he's dates out. Greetings to all. Hello from Florida's West Coast. What's up? Intrinsic One. Salute. I put the link in the chat. I mean, I'm down if anybody wants to come up and just chit chat about this case for a split second. Again, I started it with the blanket question is, can men be victims? You can whittle that down to, can Black men be victims? And you can't help but address the dynamic between the immigrant community and the ADOS community, and the reason why maybe there isn't a little bit more noise, people in the street looking for justice for Christian. Because, I mean, all of the evidence points in the same direction. There isn't any question as to what happened, so on and so forth. But all of these questions and doubt is being thrown in the mix enough to get everybody mixed up. Let's hear what these brothers have to say for a quick second, because I like their insight.
The Arthur hearing in Florida is basically a bail hearing for a serious charge, and it's two-pronged. Prosecution has to prove that there's enough evidence here for a conviction, and then also that there's the defense has to prove that there's no problem with flight risk or any other danger to society scenario.
So for those of you that just popped in, essentially what this was a bond hearing. So, she's been finally was arrested. She got arrested 4 months after she committed the crime. Finally went to jail, and they're having hearings whether or not they're going to let her out. Essentially, this hearing is trying to figure out whether or not she's either one, a flight risk, or two, a danger to herself and other people. So this isn't the trial yet, but what they're doing is they're deciding on whether or not they're going to give her bail or not. So they don't go hardcore into all of the details as far as as deep as they'll go in the trial, but a lot of information did come out as they're deciding on whether or not they're going to let her out of jail, or at least give her bail.
Ted, to you, what's the reality of now with bracelets and in modern law enforcement of an actual flight risk? Is Courtney Clenny a flight risk if she was out on bail? Yes, she has money, but does she have really the tools to go somewhere else?
Well, the technology that's available nowadays makes it pretty clear that people aren't as able to flee as they were in the past. The technology now is pinpoint wherever she is, they'll know where she is. And of course, one of the requirements when you are out on bond is that you be in at a certain time, or that you just be at home and you can't go anywhere else. So those things are pretty clear.
Do they give
the flight
brothers
risk
this?
issue is a lot
Do
of
they
times dealing with
not
people
want to
who
let
aren't
brothers
citizens of the
out on
United
bail?
States, or folks who have a tendency to travel, or they may have a guilty feeling and want to flee. That's going to be kind of hard for them to show. And a danger to the community. She's not a drug dealer. She's not someone who goes around, threatening to kill anybody else. So they're on good ground with that. And they may possibly have some grounds to get the
Brother, did you hear what this man just said? Listen to what this guy just said. She's not a drug
She's not
dealer.
someone who goes around, threatening to kill anybody else. So
Anybody else. She's not someone that goes around threatening anybody else, to kill anybody else.
That's going to be kind of hard for them to show. And a danger to the community. She's not a drug dealer. She's not someone who goes around, threatening to kill anybody else. So they're on good ground with that. And they may possibly have some grounds to get the release. But given that she killed this man with a knife, and I don't know what her injuries were like, that's something that probably would weigh in the judge's decision.
Daryl, should she be let out on bond as she awaits trial? Because it's a huge difference in terms of her short-term life.
BG 100%.
As this waits, because this likely won't go to trial for a long time.
Bond hearings are particularly interesting because the judge normally has to presume what the prosecutor has charged to be true. And although they're putting on somewhat of a defense, it is really the presumption that what's been charged is true, and she's been charged with murder. And it cuts right to the point of, if someone's charged with murder and you presume that they committed murder, then that's a danger. I agree with Ted that she's not much of a flight risk. You can put an ankle monitor on her and figure out where she is and what she's doing, and she's not going to be able to get away with leaving the country. But the real element for review is danger. And if you presume someone for a bail hearing to be responsible for murder, stabbing someone, I believe the danger may be the strongest element in which the judge makes a decision that she probably won't get the bond.
And the recorded conversations that Obum Selly secretly recorded go to that. I mean, she's unhinged at times. Here's an example of her screaming at him, telling him he needs to go charge her cell phone. He, meanwhile, is recording this because she's off the rails.
Don't touch me! What is going on? Like, what are you going to get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on
Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You trust the alright. You know well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes, and I am so sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you.
Let me, run that back. Run that back. Run that back.
Don't touch me! What is going on? Like, what are you going to get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you?
No, Christian.
Like, you're thinking I'm doing it on
Drop your attitude. Drop your high pitch.
Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose.
You trust the alright. You know well the right thing to do is to tell me.
Yes,
Drop
and
your
I
high
am so
pitch.
sorry.
So shut up and let me slap you.
I'm not going to slap you.
Give me my phone.
You have your phone.
I don't have it anymore. Find it and charge it.
What?
That is one of the...
Instant grounds for dismissal. It's way gone, long gone before this kind of conversation happens. If you're in a relationship like this, where you have arguments like this, I'm not even look, I'm just a guy. I'm just a regular ass dude. I don't know shit. I'm just a regular guy. But if you're in a relationship and this is the kind of behavior you're dealing with, your shit is over. Like, get the hell out. Yeah, it's exactly like was. But this man just tried for 30 minutes to try to figure out how to make this woman the victim. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, there's no evidence that shows at all that he ever did anything to her besides bend over backwards to try to make her happy. And she murdered this guy And this is the kind of treatment that he gets. And it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. And like I said, the whole dynamic between foundational Black American community, immigrant community, people aren't yelling and screaming like, hey, justice for Christian. I mean, there's some, but it's but not the way that I think that some of the immigrant community would like for it to be coming across. Black women, you know how they feel. They're like, oh, Snow Bunny kills you, that's your fault. And I've seen some of the comment sections on some of the posts when this first happened. And it was just as bad, if not worse, as when Kevin Samuels passed. Rest in peace. So again, it's interesting. It's interesting, the dynamic, right? Because it doesn't even say prosecutors claim Clenny and Obaselli's relationship had a history of domestic violence. Everything that I've seen, all of the evidence, whether it be video or audio, it's been very much one way. But we don't even get the benefit of the doubt. And that's crazy. That's interesting. Anyways, look, guys, I just wanted to do a quick one. Just wanted to do a quick one just to kind of memorialize. Look at that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is insane. Do you know how nuts you have to be to stab somebody to death? Do you? Do you know what it's like to stab anybody to death? If you've done any of your own butchering of meat in the chat room, just put a 1 in the chat. Like if you've ever actually, cleaned up an animal, not fish, because I don't really count fish, but like if you've done like processed deer or any kind of cow or pig or anything like that, if you've ever processed any animal like that, just put a 1 in the chat. Most people haven't these days. I have. And the idea of stabbing a human is insane. Like that's not a intrinsic one has, right? So you've processed meat, right? So using a boning knife or actually trying to, like, oh shit, you did it tonight. What kind of animal? Was it like deer or anything like that? Did you actually go out and hunt something yourself, or did you pick something up and process it on your own? It's not like it's not oh shit, or oh you a raccoon, huh? Whoa, this country right there, brother. That's what I'm talking about. Raccoons are kind of crazy when you skin those. So, I mean, it's not an easy. It doesn't feel good, right? Like it's not a nice feeling, especially and that's with an animal. I can't even imagine with a human being. But look at this. So this is a text message from before. This is a text message from before. So this wasn't the first time she's put a knife on this man. From getting stabbed multiple times to forgiving and being forgived. Come on, brother. Marriage talks. Come on, brother. Kids talks. Come on, brother. Vulnerable to you. Come on, brother. This is what I deserve. ? Babe, I was in the hospital and you went to Midtown and slept somewhere for the night. God damn. Yeah, see, Cody, they said she was a bodybuilder, but I mean, I think she worked out. I don't know about like bodybuilder. You know what I'm saying? Like she was probably like natural bodybuilder, like fitness model bodybuilder, but like she wasn't like roided pecs bigger than yours bodybuilder. You know what I'm saying? Like she was still like fitness type. And you are BG 100% correct. Worship. Brothers, if you can hear me, like I said, if you see this on the replay, if you see this on, you cannot worship a female no matter what. You cannot allow a female to look at how crazy this is, from getting stabbed multiple times to forgiving and being forgiven, brother. Marriage talks, kids talks, vulnerable to you. This is what I deserve, question mark. Babe, I was in the hospital. So again, my question is, if this is the type of behavior that you tolerate, can you be surprised when she stabs you to death? Yes, absolutely aggressive. Absolutely aggressive. I mean, next level aggressive, beyond. I mean, again, like I said, full blown abusive. This is, people talk about abusive relationships. This is what a relationship actually looks like. But once again, right? Like, we can't be victims. We're not victims. Like, listen, hold on. I'm gonna let this run back.
Slashing him with a knife more than once.
This is not the first time.
They also released secret audio recordings taken by the victim.
Don't touch me! What is going on? What are you gonna get this mad at me when I'm apologizing to you? No, Christian. But you're thinking I'm doing it on purpose. Drop your high pitch. Okay, I'm not doing it on purpose. You're so sorry. You know well, the right thing to do is to tell me. Yes, and I am so sorry. So shut up and let me slap you.
Let me slap
Officials say
you.
their apartment building management received so many complaints about their.
That's crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna put this up in there. Oh shit! Look at that abuse. That is abuse, brothers. If this is what your relationship is like, you find another relationship to be in immediately. Get out of it. If this is the relationship you're in, you get out of your relationship. After the link in there, if anybody wants to come up for a quick second, I'm just going to talk chit chat for a couple of minutes. And if you want to discuss this, you can come on up. But I mean,
February, just weeks before Obumseli was killed. Clenny's attorney notes that the elevator video does not depict the events leading up to the altercation. And in a statement,
do y'all brothers allow that kind of shit? Anybody in the chat that's willing to admit any of you guys dealing with anything like that? That's crazy. That is insane. Unbelievable. Look at this madness. If I ever got 1/10 of something like that, and look at the words. This is her attorney. So all of that we heard, all of that, I believe even the friends of these people have backed him up as being the victim consistently. Courtney was seeking treatment for her PTSD and related issues to the case. And it is an absolute injustice to charge a victim of domestic violence and human trafficking with a crime. They got the script on us, brothers. They have the script. Like, this is the script, right? What do they say? They make an excuse for her. She was seeking treatment. She's got PTSD, so she's not hitting on all cylinders, right? It's an injustice to charge a victim. So she's a victim now. She's the victim of DV. He's dead, but she's the victim. Human trafficking, that's what they throw in there now. Human trafficking also. She was clearly defending herself. We vigorously defend Courtney and clear her of her unfounded and baseless charge. Man. Yo. Yo. I tell you what, gentlemen. If you happen to be in a relationship like this, you got to get out. This is the PSA. This is a perfect public service announcement. If you're in a relationship men in an abusive relationship, if your girl puts her hands on you, if your girl puts her hands on you, if your girl listen to how she tried to listen to how she
Not always been a victim, but like
Taken unfounded
Listen
and
to this.
baseless charge.
I mean,
This body cam footage was taken.
look at these thirsty ass cops sitting around trying to figure out how to cheer this little girl up, right? Look at him. This guy's got his simp shoes on for sure, for sure.
Taken the day before the stabbing.
right now, like I have not always been the victim.
He's so
like right now, I'm
concerned.
the freaking victim.
Look how concerned he looks. She's clearly upset, right? She's turned it on. She's clearly upset. Something must have happened. Something has got to have happened. Something must have happened.
I'm scared to go to school.
All right, so what do you want us to do?
What do you want us to do? Thirsty number two. What's up, thirsty number two?
I want to be like, I want to be like exonerated, I guess. Like anything.
I want to be exonerated.
And I want him, okay, before we start here, I want a restraining order against Christian Gonzalez.
The OnlyFans star first wrote.
Oh, bruh. Oh, man. Guys, we got to be careful. That's all. You got to be careful, right? If you find yourself in a situation where you're dealing with a person like this, you got to go ahead and let that go. That's all. You know, not all women are going to spin out, go out on left field like this. Obviously, right? But the signs were there, right? The signs are there. Clearly, she was an aggressive young lady. And, after she stabbed him the first time, maybe he shoulda, woulda, coulda. Look, come on, brother. See, he was mesmerized by them thighs is what it was. He was mesmerized by them thighs. I mean, they're nice. OnlyFans is prostitution. I mean, anytime you're, the only thing I would say maybe that it isn't particularly prostitution is that there's no physical interaction. It would be the only argument I would ever make. And I'm just playing devil's advocate, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't understand I think it's interesting that there's as many thirsty dudes out there that can actually keep all these girls paid. I mean, I think only a small percentage of OnlyFans models are making like the kind of money she was making. I think most of them are like kind of slumming it for the most part. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a lot like the Pornhub and all those other things, right? Like the bigger earners in OnlyFans are kind of like run by like a cyber pimp, if that makes any sense. So like they don't do a lot of their own marketing. They don't do a lot of their own like back end stuff. Obviously they take the feet pictures and do the nasty, but there's always like a guy or two that's running like a handful of girls that's doing kind of cyber pimping, even in OnlyFans. So the majority of like the higher earners, there's a very few of them. Less than 1% of OnlyFans chicks are the ones that are like kind of balling out of control. And I would imagine she's kind of at the top end. I think she just got busted for trying to give her dad like $1 million of her dollars so that he could hide it so that they wouldn't take it. So cyber hoes, that's right. I mean, that's what it is. I personally, I mean, again, I don't get it, but I mean, I guess there's just a lot of lonely ass dudes out there. But I mean, I guess if it's OnlyFans or if you actually date the chick and she stabs you to death, I don't know who's winning right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy that's dead or the guy that spent like $50 on watching her play with toys or something. I don't know. I'm just saying. But anyways, like I said, I just wanted to memorialize this real quick. I wanted to jump on really quick. Yeah, you know what, Cody? I think the trial will be interesting. Like I said, this was just the bail hearing, so they don't really get super duper duper deep into what happened. They more so kind of try to prove that she's either one, a flight risk, and or two, a danger to herself or other people. So I think they still keep a lot of the evidence pretty surface level. Um, but when they do get the trial, I think they said that the trial will probably come up in a few months, most likely after Christmas into next year, which is why they're trying to get her out of jail. I'll pay attention to this one because again, it's just fascinating how hard they're trying to make her the victim. And there's literally zero proof of her being mistreated at all. In fact, all of the evidence points to her being the aggressor. And somehow, some way, they are really twisting themselves up trying to figure out how to make her a victim. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I feel bad for the brother, because at the end of the day, he's still a human being. What's up, MC? Uh, you know, she if you're ever like the biggest takeaway, I guess, is look, man, gentlemen, you're not allowed to be victims. I mean, the question was, I asked the question, can men be victims? But the answer is no, we are not victims, and nobody cares. No, we are not victims. Oh, you guys want to hear? Wait, hold on. This is Pedro. This is one of the cops. I don't know this his name. My bad. That was racist. But I don't think
She told me that she was at the apartment. The victim had went down to go to Subways. When he went to Subways, they began to message each other, and through text messages, they got into an argument. When he went to Subways, they began to message each other, and when he went to Subways, they began to
Sorry,
message each other.
last time, I promise.
When he went to Subways, they began to message each other, and through text messages, they got into an argument over sharing each other's location.
Well, through Subways.
He then.
So, anyways, like I was saying, I'm sorry. It was too easy. Sometimes the jokes just write themselves. All I got to do is hit the back button. But so, like I was saying, gentlemen, you're not victims. You can't be victims. Nobody cares. If you mess around and get stabbed in the chest by your girl, it's your own fault. Nobody's coming to save you. So if you happen to be in a situation where you're in an abusive relationship that way, it is over, long over, and you need to go on ahead and get yourself out of it, because at the end of the day, when a woman doesn't respect you, and we talk about this, when a woman doesn't respect you and she will go so far as to do these things, the last thing on that list is death. And we can say that sounds crazy, but this woman just stabbed this dude to death. So it is what it is. Anyways,